How's it going? My name is Mark Widmann. I'm one of the creative directors here at NHS. I'm here with Skate Warehouse, and we're going to show you the inside exclusive look at the NHS archives. We built this in 2013 after we made the museum to house all of the important pieces of memorabilia and real actual art. It's a two-story complex. The bottom is humidity controlled to keep the plastics and the paper from deteriorating. We also have film and footage and all the stuff in the refrigerators to keep it cool so it doesn't deteriorate. Upstairs we have trucks, decks, screens, magazines, clothing, everything else from over the 50 years here at NHS. So come on in, let's take a look and see what we can find. So we're going to dig into the flat racks and pull out some art for Christian Hosoi. Here we have a Christian Hosoi Picasso board. This was around '89. It's one of those last boards I think for NHS. Here's the blue line for the deck shape that you can see for the board. This is Sharpie, just a kind of a quick version of what they were going for the black key line on the art. All this art was done by Phillips Studios. Here is an artist's colored pencil version of what they want the actual end board to look like. It wasn't all the way completed, but you get the pretty good idea of what the colors are going to look like. And because it's such a complicated colored board, this is a CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, which those four colors can make up to like 12 to 14 different colors. And here you see the actual separations for the Hosoi deck. This is the black pass. Here's the blue pass, the red pass, and then a yellow pass. That together make the full color Hosoi board. So here's some more Christian Hosoi stuff. This is a kind of a classic piece for me. This is the Hosoi Rocket Air. It was a sticker. This is a little bit older. This has actually got ruby lift. This is hand-cut rubies for each color. So this is the flesh pass, the warm red, yellow, blue, and white. And all those colors together make the end sticker. This is what we call keyline art. This is the black hand-done art by Jim Phillips. And then he hand-cut, like I said, all these ruby lifts to get the color separations that he needs. But they always did things a little oversized too. The sticker in reality was probably only about 3 inches tall, but they always make things way bigger because when you size it down, you kind of maintain the quality of the art. So this is a very classic like sticker decal separation. Lots of these in the archive like this. Some other favorite things, I do love sketches that we have. We have lots of like hand-drawn sketches. This is for Christian Hosoi monk board. It's a pencil sketch. There's one version here, the monk and the demons kind of coming out everywhere. And then there's a second sketch, which is very sketchy. Sometimes they glue things on, they take stuff off just to get the details where they wanted it. And then they would do the actual inking of the board. This is actually a screen print of that graphic, what it would look like. Got your crop marks here at the bottom so we can get the color registered, but pretty sick board, very detailed. This is like I said, Jim Phillips art right there. Let's see what else we got. So we got some Natas stuff right now. The thing about Natas is there was lots of different artists that did Natas graphics throughout the years, from Dogtown into the Phillips Studios stages. This is an actual piece that was done for, it was later in the later 80s. This is an actual t-shirt piece of art, and they made it massively oversized to size it down so they keep all the detail. Tons of little detail and clean lines throughout this piece. This is a beautiful piece right here. Lots of Natas parts and pieces. This one particularly is the kitten board, and there's lots of different variations of the kitten. This one actually has a ribbon, which never came out. This one has the thread. These are just small little copies and mock-ups they would use. And this one has like almost like a smoke to it. But lots of different variations. They would redraw these things to fit the size and scale of the product. This is a t-shirt piece of art, so they would redraw it to fit the shape of a t-shirt, and then the deck graphic would be a whole different shape that they would shape it to make sure it was perfect. Jim Phillips and Phillips Studios, those guys were very much perfectionists, so they would redraw things many, many times. So in this archive, you'll find things doubled, tripled, sometimes drawn. So it gets a little confusing of like what's the real art, what's the wrong art. But lots of different versions to get to the end point. Tons of pieces and parts used for production. We keep every single piece, though. It's all filed away in our flat racks and kept for the future use. Stickers, the milk, the tail graphic on there. So all the parts are here, all the pieces are here. It's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's Natas for you. Okay, we're gonna check out some Salba, specifically the Witch Doctor, one of my favorite graphics from Salba. This has been framed and hanging at NHS for a really long time. The original concept came from Salba himself. He would come up with an idea and send it to Jim, and Jim would redraw it in the Phillips form. He also did a lot of graphic ideas and graphics for his brother Mickey as well, and would give it to Jim. So this is the original piece of art here, original inking by Jim. Super beautiful. I love all the little details in here. The actual separations for that deck are right here. This is what we call the keyline art. This is the black pass. These are the crop marks that you have to line up with each pass to get it to be perfectly registered. All this board was cut by hand with rubies. They're actually ruby lists, we call them rubies. Once again, the crop marks are right there. This is the red pass. So you had to hand cut these with an X-Acto blade. This would all be red, and whatever's left is where the color would come through when you burn the screens. Very hard to do. If you too much pressure, you'd cut right through the paper. Not enough pressure, you wouldn't be able to pull the pieces off. If you messed this up, it was a painful process. Back in the day, you'd have, a month or so to do a graphic, where nowadays you probably have like a week. It's much quicker turnaround, but that's why these things remain so classic, right? They're just, the time and effort and the amount of detail that they would put into these was unmatched for sure. Beautiful piece of art. That's our Salba. Now we're gonna jump into some Jeff Kendall. I have the snake board lined up here. Here is Jim Phillips' original hand-done color version of what he wanted the very first series to look like. The story goes that Jim would always want the very first deck series to come out to be the colors that he wanted, but he trusted our manufacturing and our printing here that he would let them kind of have their free will in the second and third and fourth rounds as they came out to kind of customize the colors as they went down the line. So this is what Jim was looking at for the very first graphic. And here's the actual inking of that board. Got the head the way he wanted. The story on the head, on the mouse, I'm not really quite sure. I've heard a couple different versions. You have to check with maybe Jeff Kendall on that one and see what he says. But I have my story, but he might have a whole different story. So let's talk to Jeff. But very sick art, very sick inking, lots of little details, little stippling. He was very good at like using his pen to get really small, tiny detail. Have the full separations for that as well. These were actually moving into the stage where they were printed. They weren't ruby lift cuts, but they're actually printed onto a film. So it's another version of how skateboards get made, or did get made. And of course, the final product, signed by Jeff Kendall right there. Snake board. He apparently had a lot of snakes back in the day. He was always having snakes in his house. So he's a snake dude. There's a fun one that kind of just recently came back around. Was in the early days they would do quick knockoffs and not worry about cease and desist, but they did a Jägermeister board. Back in the day, once again, you got to ask Jeff if he liked Jägermeister that much or if it was just like the graphic. So this happened, this was about 1991, I think. This was out, and then we were always afraid to reissue it, but years later, just actually the last year, Jägermeister came to us and they wanted to reissue this. They actually flew Jeff out to Germany, did a whole thing, but it's a very cool inking. Lots of little detail. And you see that's the full deck art here. They would redo the art and do, this is actual sticker separations and art as well. So once again, just a brand new piece of art, sized down or redrawn, and then here's actual rubies cut to make the actual sticker separations much bigger than it needs to be, for sure. But that's how you catch the detail. Cool, we got some more goodies here in the cabinets. In here I like to keep the wheels from all decades, and there's magazines, there's some old videos, VHS that we keep up here, but this is the 90s box of wheels I like to keep. This was a fun time in skateboarding, if you guys remember. Small wheels, big pants. Lots of fun packaging ideas. This is the Hot Wheels package. The wheels are all like 38, 39, 40, 41 millimeter. Very small. Leftovers. Fun with packaging was kind of the theme. It was kind of keeping it fun at the skate shop level. They were really good at that. Tons of different wheels in here. Choking hazards, for sure. Also have some original Road Rider wheels from the 70s. We got Park Riders, 4s, 6s, we got Hesters, we got all the original. These are actually in really good shape. These are still very like clean and crisp for a 50-year-old wheel. Some of the other fun stuff in here, lots of old VHS. This is a reason for living. VHS came with actual cassette tape of the soundtrack, which was pretty cool. These are all shrunk wrapped in here. Got lots of this stuff. We have a whole 2 refrigerators full of media from 8mm, 16mm slides, just tons and tons of stuff. It's something to sift through someday for sure. There's a lot of extra goodies in there. Thanks to Skate Warehouse. Thanks to you guys for coming in and checking out the archive. Tons of amazing things in here. You just got to see a small fraction, but hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.